2013 Toyota Highlander. Needs a little maintenance. Nothing too serious. So we're going to work on today is the transmission fluid. We're going to drop the pan, change the fluid, new filter, new gasket, and she should be good to go. Not doing this because there's any transmission issue with it. Just doing it as preventative maintenance. Fluid looks good, and it's something that should be done. Now let's crawl underneath here. And if we look down underneath here, you can see we have this lovely plastic guard, I guess. I forget what they call it. I think these are 10 millimeters. You got one bolt over here, 2, 3, 4, and I think we got 2 more in the back. So let's go ahead, take these bolts out, and get started. Now it looks like these have those special clips. Use this type of tool. This should pop out. Maybe. Yep. That works. I think that's all of them. There was one in the front that just kind of, nope. There's one in the back right over here. Alright, so about 2 of these in the back, 2 of these in the front, and I just used this tool right over here. Use it for Honda clips, and it works fine for this, so that's fine. So now we got access to the prize, our pan. This looks like a little hex bolt, so let's see what size that is. Alright, so that's a 10. Let's go ahead. Usually these are tight. Let's see how this goes. Perfect. I'm gonna let this drain. The nice thing about Toyota is that they give you a drain plug, which makes this all so much easier. And this fluid looks really good, if I'm honest. But I can see that it hasn't been serviced, no witness marks or anything like that. So this vehicle was probably just put on the highway and never really driven hard. So it's drained enough, so go ahead and I'm just gonna go ahead and put the drain plug back in, that way it don't continue just to kind of drip on me. So a little tricky on this pan compared to most, and the simple fact that you have these bolts right over here hidden across this subframe. You can see there's one right over here, there's another one right over there, and honestly this one you could take a 1/4 inch and a 10 and just kind of squeeze it in there, and that's probably the best way to get that out. And then the ones that you can't get to, like this one back over here, right over there, just gonna have to do a wrench and just do it by hand, little by little, one by one. So I'm gonna go ahead, take out all these bolts. We'll come back, we'll drop the pan. So things changed a lot on this, escalated very quickly. So I tried taking off these little bolts that are right up here, kind of wedged between the subframe and the pan. I mean, if you look, there's like no room to get in there. So decided to think about it, do a little research, and figured out that if you look over here, the transmission motor mount is right over here. It has a 19 millimeter bolt right over there. If you loosen the bolt out, it actually lifts the transmission up enough so you can actually get in a wrench, which would be the easiest way to do it, and even a ratcheting wrench so we could take it out. So if you look, as you can see there, I have a lot more clearance. So if you're gonna drop this pan on it, loosen this bolt over here. It's on the driver's side, it's a 19 millimeter. You don't have to take it out all the way. I mean, you could just go as far as you need to. I was actually experimenting with these and went nowhere with these bolts. But yeah, loosen it up, and then it gives you the room so we can actually get to the bolt and take out the pan. So I'm gonna keep going, quick tip, and I'll show you where we're at. Alright, so that came off real easy. What I went ahead and did next was I actually lowered the transmission, just because, well, I don't trust that jack too much, but that's another story. I lowered it down. I was able to get all the bolts out, so at least by loosening that bolt right over here, the transmission mount over there, I didn't take it all the way out, but I just loosened it until a couple of threads was left. I was able to get enough height to actually slide in my 10mm wrench, which is our 10mm, and even get the little ratcheting wrench to take it off easy. Pan came off smooth. Everything looks good. So now let's go ahead and let's take a look at the pan. Pan looks pretty good. I don't see a lot of metal or anything on it. Actually, I don't see anything. Just our normal little sludge on the magnet, which is normal considering the mileage on it. Have our gasket over here, which our gasket is junk because, well, we're not going to use it. And we have a nice Wix filter right over here, part number 58618, 2013 for the Toyota Highlander. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, wipe this up really good, and then we'll start putting this thing back together. Now what I like to do with these, typically the bolt holes are a little smaller than actual bolts, so you could go ahead and put them in, and this will hold the gasket in place when we slide in the pan. See, just kind of slide it through, and as you can see, these are wider than this, which is perfect, because this is what actually holds the gasket in place. With these rubber, whatever you call these gaskets, you don't put any adhesive on them. Don't. And the reason why is because it will leak. I learned that the hard way many a times. They're actually designed this way so you don't have to put any adhesive. You tighten them and you're good. And this is actually what holds it in place so the gasket doesn't move around. You don't have to put them all in, but just kind of put enough just to hold the gasket from bunching in on itself. Alright, so I got all these set up pretty nicely, so this is ready to go. And when we put it back in, we'll jack up the transmission because the bolts are already loose, and that'll give us the clearance to get to those. I have the filter over here, and I didn't show this, but I'll go ahead and take this out. It has 3 bolts right over here when you take out the pan, and I'll show you when I install it. But it has these 3 bolts right over here. They pop in. They're 10mm bolts. Also, comes with a new O-ring over here. Make sure you take the old one out. My O-ring was actually still inside the transmission valve body, so just kind of make this right over here. As far as lubing it, I mean, the valve body's still leaking, so you have plenty of lube to kind of lube these up, so don't stress that too much. We'll pop this in, and then we'll put this pan in. Get a little bit of fluid. It's the same. It's the wrong freaking filter. Ay, ay, ay. 1, 2. Yep. Looks totally different.
You stuck your hand in there?
Yeah.
Take out the pliers. Just, you want the rag is right there, right next to you.
Yeah, just gotta let it. I gotta let it drain.
Huh?
I gotta drain the oil on the pliers.
Yeah, yeah.
I got the wrong filter. Unbelievable. I got plenty of oil for this.
That's the one.
I'll let you know in just a second. I think so. Yeah, it's off-centered. Yep. That's the one.
No exercise?
Yeah. I get those sexy thighs. Okay. Got the pan. Alright, pan is in, bolts are snug down, and we should be good to go. Went ahead and lowered transmission, tightened up the bolts on the motor mount. Like I said, that's a 19 up there, and you got two 14s over here, but that's the only one that you really need to loosen, is the one right over here. As far as like torquing these, good luck torquing the ones in the back because you have no room of access, just snug. You don't want to break the gasket. So let's go ahead, let's put transmission fluid in here and make sure it don't leak. Toyota transmission fluid only, ATF WS. Says 3.5 quarts. We'll put in 3 quarts and then we'll take it from there.
Put the plug back on.
I hope so. Alright, so I got it warmed up to operating temperature, selected through all the gears. Let's go ahead and check for leaks. Looks good, just rinsed it off, so that's why it's wet. Went ahead and put in 3 quarts, rather have less than more, just because it's easier to add than take away. Coming down here. You're not gonna be able to see it, but we need to add a little more, so I'm gonna go ahead and top it off. So that's how you change the transmission fluid onto this thing. Key is make sure you loosen that transmission mount, that way you can jack it and get enough clearance. Hope this helps. Use Toyota WS fluid, and we'll